So this story kind of flew under my radar, and there's a lot of things I want to break down about it. Okay. There's a lot of things I want to at least speak about. And I know everyone has their opinions. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. But Anna Kasparian recently came out how she has been disappointed with liberal or leftist policies being implemented in California, as well as a situation that happened to her that was completely nightmarish. And I don't want that to ever happen to anybody, where she was assaulted, and how many of her close friends in the liberal echelon and even some viewers were vilifying her for what happened. Now, there's a lot to take away about Anna Kasparian, of course, but I think it's important that we hear her side, her perspective. So let's pull up this video here. She was on the Keeping It Real podcast, hosted by Jillian Michaels. So let's go ahead and pull up this video here and check it out. This is just a promo of what they were talking about, and then we're going to play her encounter, which is very disturbing in many ways, of a homeless person assaulting her. So let's play it.
And the concern is that it goes from California to a federal problem.
Yeah, that should be a concern. And in fact, some of the failed policies that we've implemented here, unfortunately, have been exported to other states.
Right.
And I'll give you a quick example, because we have literally squandered $25 billion on the homeless issue over the last 5 years. And I say squandered because there was recently an audit that wanted to see, like, okay, where did the money go? Because over the last 5 years, we've spent all this money, but homelessness has exploded.
Where the money is gone? Well, the Democrats take the money, they launder it, and they don't give anything back to the people. Like all those activist groups and organizations in California, look, bless your hearts, but you're associated with the Democratic Party that doesn't give two damns about you, okay? The Democratic Party doesn't care. And we're seeing the mass failure of corporate policies being implemented by Democratic lawmakers. See, unfortunately, what we have here is unchecked corruption and abuse of power and negligence that has been allowed to carry on. Now, again, you see corruption at every level and in every state. It's not just Democrats. Hey, Republicans. Y'all play an equal role in it too. And when I say Republicans, I'm talking about Republican politicians. Voters, Democrat voters and Republican voters, wake up. You're being scammed. But in California, we are witnessing a mass exodus of people. And unfortunately, many of these policies that California has implemented have been half measure. And I'm being generous with that. Dare I say it, they're even a hollowed out skeleton of what they should be. And they're not helping out people. And some of these ideas are then being carried to the rest of the Democratic Party in different states. So when we see the Democrats promoting all these policies, especially most notably what happened during the lockdowns, it's very clear that the agenda is keeping people poor, keeping people broke, keeping people miserable.
Homelessness has increased by 58% since 2013. Okay, so obviously this money isn't going where it was supposed to go.
Right.
And so it turns out that the state government started giving out these grants but after 2020.
Okay.
And the grants that they would give out to were these nonprofits, newly formed nonprofits in many cases, that were tasked with helping the homeless. Except some investigations found they weren't actually helping the homeless. They were giving their executives some massive raises, lots of gifts to the staff.
And that's one of my other criticisms, a lot of those activist groups, especially in 2016. I remember you guys, and especially in 2017 when we got started. I remember a lot of you groups, how a lot of you were definitely going to bat hard, trying to be part of the resistance. Yeah, the resistance. I didn't see you guys around after 2020. A lot of you guys got some nice cushy jobs with the Democrats too. Interesting how things change. And all these major groups, especially those that even promoted things like sanctuary cities, a lot of the people in charge of those things, they got a nice little cushy little place of residences here and there. And, when we look at all these activist groups, and not just even those for the homeless groups, but, let's talk about something high profile, for example, like Me Too, Time's Up, and Black Lives Matter. maybe I'm being paranoid, maybe I'm being overly suspicious, and I could be wrong. But not only did all three of those organizations have corruption and, shady dealings, but all their leaders seem to be living it up in nice little residential homes and apartments, living it up, all the while promoting and talking about, hey, we're going to do social change. They failed miserably.
There are videos of some of these nonprofits literally going to Skid Row and handing out crack pipes.
Right.
And that's their idea of helping the homeless. So the Project Room Key expansion happened. And some of these nonprofits that were tasked with converting old hotels and motels into apartment buildings for the homeless didn't finish their projects, abandoned their projects after getting tens of millions of dollars in these state government grants. And I'm furious about this. They stole from us. And so when you have that experience here, right, in California, and you see how all of these politicians who have all of these friends, who run all of these nonprofits, who stole our money, when you see that, it's really hard to have these conversations about how we need to increase taxes on anyone.
Now, there's been a kind of an ongoing joke happening here. Is Anna Kasparian leaving the left? I wouldn't say she's leaving the left. I think she's just gravely disappointed by the failures of a lot of groups and a lot of organizations that talked a big game and became just as corrupt and equally just to blame as the Democrats are, because the Democrats, like I said before, will always infiltrate a new activist group or organization to make sure that the leadership is checked properly and to remain and sucker in many people to vote Democrat for the next election cycle. And we all know that TYT has gone to bat for the Democrats a lot of times, most notably Anna Kasparian. Never forget what TYT did during the forced vote in 2021, where originally Cenk was on board, and then somehow him and Sammy Boy Cedar had a little twisty twist, a flippy flip, an Uno reverse card, and boom, against it. Now, I think Anna has every right to call out the Democrats because, I mean, let's face it, TYT's gone to bat for the Democrats, and boy, egg on your face, guys, a whole lot of times. But it's okay. I always embrace people to make a change for themselves. But also, I think I can understand why Anna is getting upset with the Democrats, because something did happen to her, and I will play this video uninterrupted. I am very sorry this happened to her, and it should not have. And when she went to tell her story about being assaulted, she got vilified by a lot of her close friends or other groups that would support her. I don't like that they did that to her, and I don't like that this happened to her. But there is a problem. And when people want to address criticism, you just can't go around just saying, oh, well, you're this and that. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you have such a puritanical cancel culture where if you go up against a norm or even bring any form of criticism, you're vilified. So I'm going to save my comments for the end of this video. Let's go ahead and play it. Again, it's very disturbing what happened, and I don't like what happened to her, and I don't like the response that happened to Anna.
In 2022, it was around March. I was walking my dog. It was not quite dark yet, but the sun was setting. As I'm walking my dog, I see these two guys that were just kind of like moving around weirdly. They seemed kind of manic, and their clothes were tattered. So I knew that they were probably homeless. And I also knew that they're probably on something just based on like the twitchy way they were acting. But living in LA, I mean, there's homeless people everywhere, right? So I've never had problems. I didn't think anything of it. But as I was bending down to pick up my dog's mess, one of the guys like grabs me by my hips, and he had an erection.
Oh God.
And just starts like humping me. And I didn't know what to do. Like I was terrified. I didn't have a weapon on me.
Yep.
Like I had no way of defending myself. I didn't know how far it was going to go because it's two guys. I'm by myself with my little dog. It was one of the most terrifying things ever, because I'm pretty good at defending myself. In that moment, I just knew there was no option.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And luckily, he stopped and they just laughed at me and walked away as they were laughing at me. And so there was the fear and then the humiliation and weirdly shame. Like I felt ashamed for some reason. And it was awful. And it was really taking a toll on my mental health because I have to walk my dog, right? So at least 2 or 3 times a day, I'm going outside kind of scared. And so I opened up about this on the show, not really thinking much of it. And before I know it, I'm starting to get these messages, and it's like really, really harsh stuff. And it's about how you are painting a picture of the homeless community. You know, how could you be like this? You know, these are your unhoused neighbors and they need help. A few people accused me of being racist when I had never disclosed the race of the individuals who did this to me. And in fact, they were white. And so like when they started accusing me of being racist, I'm like, wait a minute. Why are you assuming that the people who did this?
Of course.
Yeah, like I think you might have a problem here.
So that's unfortunate. I'm seeing people in the chat. Some people are questioning the story. Some people are saying, well, again, nonetheless, let's try and be a little nice here, audience. Let's try and just look at this as a bigger picture here. She told her story, and I do remember, especially on the internet, there were a lot of people trying to drag Anna through the mud because she was talking about this encounter. That should not have happened, and I'm sorry she went through that. But it also shows the utter hypocrisy and cannibalism and puritanical logic that is in the leftist sphere, the liberal sphere. Follow orders and comply, as our favorite Commissar Hans would say. Follow the orders and comply. Do not question anything. And we here at Hardlens Media, we have dealt with a wave of people trying to cancel us. And especially when we were on the ground covering protests and activists, when we were calling out, hey, do we really have the resources to take care of people if Chicago's going to be a sanctuary city? And myself and Daniel, we were called, bigots and racists because we asked the question, can the city do this? Which now it's abundantly clear. No, the city cannot. It cannot. It can't do it. It can't do it. I'm so sorry. And at the same time, too, when we would also say, hey, we're going to be supporting third parties and independents, a lot of our good friends who were liberals or Democrats or more progressive leaning Democrats, I guess, would say, oh, well, you just want to help Trump. Oh, you guys are secret racists or anything like that. And like, no. But that's the problem on the left. That's a huge problem. Cancel, 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 censor, censor, censor. And TYT has helped contribute to that nightmare. And TYT has also boosted a lot of those people who are more than happy to not even look into the story even further and push that cancel button. So is Anna Kasparian leaving the left? No. But I think it's getting its fair share of criticism. And I think it's something that TYT also has to address because they helped make that nut monster in the first place. It is something that we all need to be aware of, that when you have a position of power, of influence, it is your social responsibility to also ensure to look at the bigger picture. And TYT has failed at that a lot of times, especially and most notably with their Trump derangement syndrome. And of course, going all in with the Democrats, not even realizing the Democrats are playing them along. How's that Katzenberg cash holding out for you guys? Not that well when you lose all that credibility. So we'll see what happens, but I'm prepared to see a video someday in the future from Anna. Why I left the left. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe we won't. I'll let you decide.